Got to give you a warning that this story, as well as the video that we're going to show you during it, is very difficult to watch and to process. It involves horrifically run-of-the-mill police brutality of the sort that we have had to face, we've had to confront almost every day so far this year, as well as standout police lying about the nature of that brutality. It involves an individual named Ronald Green. You'll see a picture of Ronald here, who was killed by police in Louisiana 2 years ago, dragged out of his vehicle after a chase. We're gonna show you some of the video so you understand how brutal the situation was, and then we're gonna describe some of the insane manipulation of the family that the police employed after what you're seeing here.
Let me see your fucking hands, mother. I got you. Come here, mother. I got. Get out. Okay. Oh, Lord Jesus. Oh, get up. Let me see your hands. Oh, Lord, let me see your hands. Get out, cool. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm scared. I'm scared. I'm your brother. I'm scared.
Cenk, I just hate it. I hate everything about it, about the story, and we're gonna describe, how the family was misled about what you saw there, and we're gonna have more video. The brutality and the seeing the cops who think of themselves like you hear it in their voices of the people that they think they are. And we've chosen these people to give the power of life and death, and so often, as in this case, they side with death.
Yeah, so I think the lie that was told by the police in this story is unbelievable, and the fact that people are not talking about it more, and that every news outlet in Louisiana isn't obsessed with this lie is amazing to me. We're gonna get to that in a second.
Yeah.
In terms of this, the chase overall in this first portion of the video that you just saw, look, Green was going 115 miles per hour. Is that dangerous? Definitely. He was trying to evade police. Is that dangerous? Definitely. And so were they right to pull him over? Of course, right? Were they right to be concerned? Sure. Were they right to be cautious? Absolutely, right? But then they say, okay, put up your hands. And in the beginning of that video, you see him going like this, like putting up his hands through the passenger seat. He's trying to show it to the cop coming from the passenger side, right? And then at some point in the video, you saw him doing this. And you might say, oh, well, look, I'm concerned because he's doing this. You know why? Because a cop came around from the driver's side and used a stun gun on him. So he went like, right? And that's when he's saying, right before he got stunned, he said, I'm your brother, I'm scared. Now you're mad at him because he took you on this chase and you're cautious. We understand all that, right? But now that he's putting his hands up, that's when you take him out of the car because you did it. You did it at that point. Yeah, at that point, we would laud you and compliment you. Thank you for stopping him, for getting him off the road, etc. It's done. He put his hands up. Nope. We're gonna stun him and then yell at him to put his hands up. Well, okay, now what you're saying is we're looking forward to doing some serious damage on this guy.
Yeah.
We're not gonna wait for the courts to decide what his penalty is. We're gonna kick the living crap out of him, and they did. And then when they had him handcuffed, they dragged him face first in the dirt, as you'll see, and then he died. They beat him to death.
Yep, and although we keep hearing that it's just a few bad apples, apparently none of the good ones were around, because you hear the swearing, the constant stunning him. They drag him out, they beat him. It ends. And I don't even really want to show the video, but like at one point they're using like sanitizer wipes to wash all the blood off their hands.
Yeah, and one of them jokes around about how he hopes this guy doesn't have AIDS because they took so much blood from him in that melee. And so, but John, do you want to go to that video or do you want to? Let's do the video, then I want to come back to the lie because the lie is so important. And the reason it's disheartening, but I want people to see.
Sure.
Because for all of my life, until the body cam videos and the iPhone videos started to come out, I was told that cops were benevolent angels.
Yep.
And that anyone who disagreed with them were lying criminals, okay? So I want you to see the reality of what black people have been seeing in this country for hundreds of years.
Officer, get on the ground! Get on the ground! Taser, taser, taser. Put your hands behind your back. Behind your back. Make sure you ain't getting rolling. Put your hand behind your back. Oh, God damn it, get up here! Motherfucker, you better not move. Got it? You all right? Blood all over. This guy ain't got AIDS.
And you see at the end there, the guy dragging him by his feet. And since his hands are handcuffed behind his back, his face is already bloodied and battered. His bloodied face is being dragged across the dirt. So he got punched in the face multiple times, and you saw the stun gun on several occasions, and they put a chokehold on him. And then at the end, after he's totally incapacitated, they left him. They're supposed to, at a minimum, put him on the side, right? So he can breathe. No, they left him face first in the dirt until he died.
Until he died.
And they think most likely it was cardiac arrest after that tremendous beating that he took. But John, that's not what they said, is it?
No, it isn't. So obviously the family was devastated by this. So they wanted to understand what had happened. The troopers told Green's family he died on impact after crashing into a tree during the chase. Later, state police released a one-page statement acknowledging only that he struggled with troopers and died on his way to the hospital. So the family was led to believe that he had crashed into a tree and died, and that was it. It had nothing to do with the cops. The cops are totally innocent. And if they had not kept pushing, that would have been the end of the story. The lies that those murderous cops had told would have been the complete and utter end of the story. And they pushed, so they got a lie that was slightly closer to reality. But an actual investigation into what happened there didn't start until 474 days after Green died. And it took about 2 years for them to finally release the footage. And as is almost always the case, the second you see the footage, you know exactly why they waited 2 years before showing it.
I need you to understand why that lie is so important. That means that we can't trust anyone in law enforcement in Louisiana. They all collectively decided to lie and say that he crashed into a tree and died, even though everyone who was part of this investigation knew anything about it, had access to that body cam that you just saw, that video. They might have released it 2 years later, but they had it. They knew that they beat the guy to death. And they said, no, he ran into a tree and died. That is a brazen lie, an outrageous lie that they all agreed to. Where's a few bad apples? Where's a few bad apples? No, that's the Louisiana State Police saying, we are all bad apples. If we murder you, we will obviously cover it up because we're a gang. What do you think thin blue line means? It says it doesn't mean, hey, if you do something great, we pat you on the back. It means if you do something terrible, we'll all cover for you.
Yep.
And we'll all lie for you, and we'll all pretend that it was the victim's fault that he got murdered. And that's what they did here, plain and simple. The people who run the Louisiana State Police and the people who put out that statement are unbelievable liars. And if you look, there's no not seeing it, it's obvious, right? There's no dispute in this case. You just saw the video. So the question is, what are we gonna do about it? Was there cause for accountability for the unbelievable gargantuan piece of crap liar who put out that statement about how he ran into the tree? Was there a call for the immediate firing of all of the top brass of the Louisiana State Police who apparently lie like this, these outrageous lies, routinely, and then cover up evidence of crimes? They're the cops. And they're covering up evidence of crimes.
Yeah.
Why? Because they're complicit. It's not a few bad apples. Police in this country are taught that you must cover up for the criminality of your fellow officers. And by the way, we encourage that criminality, and then we make sure that you're above the law if you ever do it, and then we'll all lie for your benefit. What are we gonna protect the citizens? We don't give a damn about the citizens. The only thing they care about is protecting themselves.
Yep.
So obviously the cops should have been fired a long time ago, and some of them, there was gonna be disciplinary action, etc. One of them died in a car accident a couple hours after they announced there was gonna be disciplinary action. I don't know if he grew conscious, I don't know if he was distracted, I don't know what he was, I don't care, honestly. He's a despicable person before he died, that cop that was involved in the beating here. And all the other cops, though, they loved it, apparently. Not one, there wasn't a single cop in this story. Not one cop in the entire state of Louisiana. Now, mind you, not all the cops were involved in the story, but of the ones that were involved, not one of them said, no, this is outrageous, you guys murdered a guy. Yeah. No, I'm going to be the one good apple. We couldn't find one good apple in the Louisiana State Police. Yep. That's a fact. You just saw the video, it's a fact. By the way, media, do your goddamn jobs. Call for the firing of the people who perpetrated this lie. Don't bury it in the middle of an article. Oh, by the way, they pretended that he ran into a tree. Well, that's obviously normal because all of our cops are goddamn liars, but we're not gonna make a big deal out of it because they're our sources and they're credible because they're government officials.
Yeah, there were no good apples in that video. There were no good apples in all of the much wider circle of people that knew about the lie that was told to the family. And honestly, when the system lies to you so much, it drives you to ask questions that, I don't know, maybe will make me seem insane. So they said that the cop died in a car accident. I don't know, they said he died in a car accident. That was a lie. Did the cop die in a car accident?
Well, I would never trust.
I'm not gonna trust them?
Yeah, I would never trust the cop now. I would never trust like in the old days, guys, if you're young, you didn't grow up in it. Until about 5, max 10 years ago, every story in the media, every one of them was, cops are awesome. Cops are always to be believed. The cop would never lie. Black people lie all the time. These criminals, of course they're covering up for their crimes. These minority, poor people, no, the cops are great. There are buddies on our front. Local news was the worst. Normally I blame cable news because they're usually the heart of the problem. Not in this case, it's local news. Local news uses those cops as sources and they all become friends with them and they all high five them and they have them on the set all the time. Oh, here's police officer and he's going to lie with our cameras to all of you and we're going to cheerlead it. Yeah, cops, they're always telling the truth. Black people are always wrong. Screw all of you in local media that did that to black people in this country and that supported the criminals that run our police departments. You did that. You allowed for that video to happen. You allowed for Green to get murdered like that because you gave the cops impunity and you lied to the entire American people about what actually happens in policing in this country. So if you all, and in the old days, they would have thrown me off of television or radio for saying that. That is not an exaggeration. It is very literal. If you said that on TV or radio 10 years ago, let alone 2 years ago, but definitely 10 years ago, you would have been removed from the air. It would not have been a conversation. You cannot say that the cops are lying. The cops are angels. They are people in authority. You cannot say that. So, well, now we are saying it, and there isn't anything you could do about it because you can see in this case, clear as day, they're absolutely, positively liars who do it to cover up their criminality. Last thing, if you did a poll in the old days, you couldn't even ask this question on air, right? But if you asked, do you believe generic police officer, generic black man, right? And the answer would have been depressing. It would have been a horrific answer. And it would have been completely police officers. And that you saw it unfold in jury after jury after jury because of the brainwashing of the media about police officers and minorities in this country. If you ask me today, a generic cop versus a generic black man, it's not even close. Of course I'm gonna believe the black person, number one, because of the history of our experience.
Yeah.
Right? As a cop said on this show, did you think all the black people in the country were lying to you all through these years? All through these decades and centuries, that all black people were lying and the cops were always right? That was a former Baltimore cop who said that on the show. And that goes to show you, of course they've been lying the whole time, the cops, right? If you give me a generic cop and put him on the stand, I won't believe him. It would have to take overwhelming evidence for me to believe a cop these days, because this is what we see 24/7. And a good cop, a good apple has yet to be spotted.
Yeah.
To be fair, there are a couple, including a different Baltimore cop on this show. We interviewed him. He turned in a fellow officer who was beating a man to death. They threw a rat on his car. They threw a brick through his window. The rest of the cops intimidated him so much until he resigned and had to go work at a local sheriff's department in a small town in Florida. That's what happens to good apples in police departments in America.
And that is why we ask that people finish the saying. It's the one bad apple spoils the bunch. Except there's not one. Like, you might have a good apple, and if he, like he was run out of the area, let's say that he had witnessed and talked about something not as bad, and so the strike back wasn't as bad. Is he gonna do it a second time? Probably not. That's his community. He's gonna shut up in the future, and that's what they do. They sink everyone down to the level of the worst. And as you can see in these videos, the worst is pretty bad.
Hey everyone, as you all know, coronavirus has been pretty devastating for people's personal finances. The inaction in Congress, or the very little relief that was provided by Congress, unfortunately didn't do much to help small businesses that were really hurt by being forced to shut down in order to slow the spread of coronavirus. There are 100,000 small businesses that have been closed since the pandemic began. Some of you might feel helpless, but luckily there's this wonderful initiative known as the COVID Rescue Fund. So all you need to do is go to covidrescuefund.org and you'll learn more about how you can donate or how you can vote and promote your favorite small business. And really the whole point here is to offer generous grants to help these small businesses. The COVID Rescue Fund crowdsources up to $100,000 for each individual grant. So we're not talking about a small amount of money. I've seen small businesses in my community shut down, and these are small businesses where I had relationships with the owners, and to watch them lose everything that they've worked so hard for has been absolutely heartbreaking. I really wanted to do something then, and I'm happy to see that there's an initiative that could help people get involved now. Go to covidrescuefund.org and donate. Let's come together and bring back as many small businesses as possible.